Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. Well, outside we have cloudy skies right now, 60 degrees on the barn thermometer. It looks like it's going to be another warm one today, though, with temperatures in the upper 80s, and that humidity is probably going to be climbing as well. I had a couple reports of combine and field fires yesterday, so make sure you're playing it safe out there and be prepared. A couple quick calendar reminders. Powered by Soy Biodiesel, I'll be sending some updates from the Wyandotte County Fair at midday today. Be sure to tune in for that. Those updates thanks to the folks at Ag Credit who are sponsoring the Pee Wee Showmanship Day today. And then coming up next week, we have Farm Science Review. We'll be broadcasting on Monday at the Farm Science Review. That thanks to the folks at Ag Credit. You can see them at booth 535 at the corner of Land Avenue and Tractor Street. Also, we'll be broadcasting on Tuesday with the folks from Homan Equipment Tent, located at 611 Swine Avenue on the Farm Science Review grounds. Be sure to stop in and see them. And on Wednesday, we'll be broadcasting thanks to Morton Buildings. You can stop and see Morton Buildings at 516 Land Avenue at the Farm Science Review. I'm joined today by Jeff Dooling. Jeff, a farmer in Putnam County. Jeff, we know that the weather has been really challenging this growing season, and probably some places no more challenging than southern Ohio with the drought that's going on. And for livestock farmers, that hits especially hard when it comes to having feed available, whether it's pasture or hay ground. And you're just down talking to some guys. Sounds like things are pretty tough.
Yeah, just yesterday, last couple of days, I've been down at Farm Science Review working down there, and yesterday, I was with Soil and Water, so I get around the state and got a lot of friends down in that area. And I was talking to Nathan Brown from Highland County, and we all know it's pretty serious down there, but their pastures are burned up, no grass left, and they're feeding their hay that was supposed to get them through winter. So, and I was sitting here on the way home yesterday from Farm Science Review. I was thinking what the heck we can do up here. And in Northwest Ohio, we raise a lot of red clover and a lot of stubble clover out there right now. And just like me, I had 20 acres sitting there and didn't know what to do with it. I didn't need the hay. So this morning I made a few phone calls, and I got one neighbor to knock it down, mow it, and I got another neighbor going to come in here maybe Sunday, Monday, and bail her up and hopefully get her off the field and get her inside. And then whenever them guys can come and get some hay, or if I after harvest, I'll truck it down there. We'll figure something out. And I was just thinking, like I said, I know there's a lot out there, but we're getting knocking on the door on harvest, and I thought we only got a few days left here to, do something. So.
Well, as they say, many hands make light work, and there's going to be a lot of work probably that's needed to help our neighbors to the south as we get into that. And you're right, with the weather forecast we had, while we would have liked to maybe catch some of that precipitation from the hurricane that's blowing through, it sounds like that's not going to happen, but it is going to be great haymaking weather. So I agree with you. If guys have the opportunity, they've got some clover, it'd be a great time if they can get that knocked down and just sort of get it, like you said, under cover so it's available for down the road. We also should add, if you are in need of hay, the Ohio Department of Agriculture has created a new Ohio Hay Directory. So whether you have hay available or you are in need of some, just go to agra.ohio.gov or just Google the Ohio Department of Agriculture website and click on the tab that says Ohio Hay Directory.
Yeah, and then we'll figure something out. And then, like I say, if you don't know who to contact, give me a call or get to your local Soil and Water and mention my name, and we'll get this figured out. Like I say, I'm all out to help these people down there, and we got a lot of friends down there. A lot of like I say, a lot of the Soil and Waters down there. They know what's going on, so we'll get this worked out. But I hope everybody just thinks about them, and at least if you do got some extra hay laying around, let me know, and we'll figure out how to get it down there.
Again, my guest this morning is Jeff Dooling, a farmer from Putnam County. Jeff, thanks so much for the great ideas, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Dusty.
Let's take a look now at your Friday morning weather forecast brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com.
We've got a dry forecast pattern to talk about again today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at your Ohio Ag weather update. Here's what's going on across the region. We are looking at Francine parking a little farther west and south, so not really any moisture getting into the area from her today. Maybe a few clouds into southwestern Ohio, but let's not get too cute. Humidity values are creeping up as we move through the weekend, and we're going to be rather uncomfortable to start next week. Monday through Friday, mostly dry. The only wild card is later Tuesday night, and early Wednesday. We're still watching this tropical moisture trying to come through the Carolinas. It's not as strong, doesn't have as much speed to it this time around. So while I'm not ruling out some of that moisture getting into Ohio, rather than an 80 or 90% coverage event, it may be closer back to 50 to 60%. The good news is the best chance of this moisture holding together still is in south and southeastern parts of the state, where it has been the driest up to this point. But I'm going to say let's not count on good rains everywhere. Anytime you're dealing with tropical systems, speed, track, and all of that is a wild card right up until the point that they get to where you're at. And so that's what we're dealing with here. If we miss that system, we're dry for most of next week, not seeing a big system push in from the west and northwest until probably late the 22nd into early the 23rd. And let me tell you, there is a large system developing out that way. Heavy thunderstorm activity for the second half of next week in Iowa, southern Minnesota, Wisconsin, northern Missouri. It's moving towards us, but it's going to wait and take its own sweet time to get here. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Get ready for the 62nd Annual Farm Science Review, September 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's more than a farm show. Explore over 600 exhibitors across 2.6 million square feet, providing equipment, services, and education for farms of all types and sizes. Tickets can be purchased at participating OSU Extension offices and agribusinesses, as well as online. Visit fsr.osu.edu to buy your Farm Science Review tickets now and plan your show visit. We look forward to seeing you at the 62nd Farm Science Review, September 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Soybeans grown in Ohio and across the heartland are meeting the feedstock demand for clean fuels. Biodiesel is a clean-burning and reliable fuel that enhances engine life, power, and mileage. Plus, this high-performance fuel works in any diesel engine without modification. With biodiesel, we fuel the economy, do good for the environment, and support soybean farmers. Learn how using biodiesel can add value to every bushel of soybeans grown at soyohio.org.
Taking a look at your agricultural headlines, the USDA WASDE report is what's making the news right now as they forecast a record corn yield of 183.6 bushels per acre in the most recent report. Now, going against analyst pre-report estimates, the USDA yesterday raised corn production slightly as the yield was bumped up to a record level. Corn production was pegged at 15.186 billion bushels. That's up 39 billion bushels from August. And the yield was raised 1/2 bushel per acre to a record 183.6. USDA released its September crop production and World Ag Supply and Demand Estimates report. And Thursday's new crop U.S. ending stock estimates were a little bearish for corn, neutral for soybeans and wheat, that according to DTN's lead analyst Todd Holtman. Meanwhile, world ending stock estimates from the USDA were neutral for corn and soybeans and slightly bearish for wheat, he said. Now, corn production is projected at 15.186 billion bushel, up 39 million bushels, as we said, from August, while the yield was pegged at a record 183.6, up 1/2 bushel. The harvested acres remained at 82.7 million acres, and for demand, USDA projected total feed and residual use at 5.825 billion bushels. Ethanol use would be forecast at 5.45 billion bushels, making total domestic use forecast at 12.665, with a 15 million bushel decline in the food, seed, and industrial uses. As far as exports go for 24-25 crop, those forecasted at 2.3 billion bushels, with ending stocks for the new crop projected at 2.057 billion bushels. That's down 16 million from August. Now, the farm gate price for 24-25 is projected to be $4.10 a bushel. That down 10 cents from a month ago. Looking at the 23-24 old crop ending stocks, those are pegged at 1.812 billion bushel, down 55 million in the carryover to the new crop. As far as soybeans go, USDA made few changes to the soybean forecast, lowering production by 3 million bushels and leaving the national average yield unchanged at 53.2. Total production then is forecast at 4.586 billion bushels, with ending stocks for the 24-25 season declining by 10 million bushels to 550 million, toward the lower end of the pre-report expectations. USDA lowered beginning stocks by 5 million bushels and raised the residual use by 2 million, so the national average farm gate price was unchanged at $10.80 a bushel. For the 23-24 season, USDA lowered the ending stocks by 5 million bushels to 340 million. The change was due to an increase in crush, and the national average farm gate price also was unchanged then at $12.50 a bushel. As far as wheat goes, the USDA expects that farmers will harvest 1.982 billion bushels of wheat in the 24-25 year. That is unchanged from last month's estimate, and it will be updated in the small grain summary scheduled to be released on September 30. USDA estimates U.S. ending wheat stocks at 828 million bushels for the 24-25 year, again unchanged from August, with a farm gate price of $5.70 per bushel, which is also unchanged. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your markets after this.
Your health and safety are of the highest importance to your friends at the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. That's why creating safe work environments in agriculture has never been easier. BWC's free safety consulting services provide training and education for everyone in your work family. It's always a good time to make safety a priority. Visit bwc.ohio.gov and click on Safety Services, or call 1-800-644-6292. The Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation has the safety resources you need.
Get the equipment and trucks you need at Ritchie Brothers' next Great Lakes Regional event on September 18th, 19th, and 20th. This absolute unreserved auction will feature online bidding. Items are located in Columbus, Chicago, and Detroit. Choose from over 6,600 items, including a wide selection of construction equipment, truck tractors, and more. Don't miss Ritchie Brothers' Great Lakes Regional event on September 18th, 19th, and 20th. For more details, visit rbauction.com. Again, that's rbauction.com.
Who wants them?
It's time now for your Thursday morning Louis Dreyfus grain analysis, brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Let's check in with Ryan Martin.
Grain markets yesterday finished mixed overall. Corn and beans a little higher. Wheat markets were mixed, lower in Chicago and Kansas City, a little higher in Minneapolis. We're broadcasting live again here from the Wyandotte County Fair. Day 4 is in the books. Day 5 coming up. You hear some cornhole being played right here next to me as we're hanging out in the Louis Dreyfus booth for the rest of this week. The markets yesterday influenced mostly by the USDA supply and demand report, and the influence was tiny when you get right down to it. Corn yield was raised a little bit more than expected, and 183 plus here as we went through the numbers. Bean yield, though, was left pretty much alone with last month, and as well it should have. I know there were some concerns on higher yield earlier in the week that USDA would jack yields, but just with what we're seeing in the Eastern Corn Belt, there's not much to go on there and work with in terms of seeing bigger yield all across the country. So at the end of the day yesterday, we had some double-digit gains in the soybeans, especially through February and March. The basis levels have not moved, but futures did a nice little move to the upside. Otherwise, headlines were few and far between. I think now we're settling in and just seeing when harvest gets to full bore across a large part of the country. You get into the eastern part of the Corn Belt, dry weather here is really being the number one story. Hearing about some moisture content on soybeans down below 10% as beans are cut. That's incredible. Corn coming out 18 to 19% or so. Now, it's not everywhere, but it's enough places that you know this dryness is really playing a role as we move toward harvest. I think the harvest really ramps up around the area very quickly over the weekend. Rain, we see the remains of Francine hitting the southern part of Indiana, southern Illinois, but nothing in Ohio. Looks like a large part of the Eastern Corn Belt is going to be dry all the way through the end of next week. Rain will be coming eventually, but the warmth and dryness is going to be the number one story. Markets are going to have to sit up and take notice. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's take a look at how the markets closed, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. December corn closed up a penny and a quarter at $4.06, and March corn was up a penny at $4.25 and a half. November soybeans closed up 10 and a quarter cents at $10.11 3/4, with January soybeans up 10 and a half at $10.30 1/2 cent, and December Chicago wheat closed down 3/4 of a penny at $5.79 1/2 cent. Taking a look now at the overnight trade, December corn is up 3 cents at $4.09. Your March corn up 2 3/4 at $4.27 1/4, and May corn up 2 1/4 cents at $4.37 3/4. November soybeans trading up 8 1/2 cents at $10.19 1/4 cent. January beans are up 8 at $10.37 1/2, and March soybeans trading 7 3/4 cents higher at $10.51 3/4 cent. Wheat for December trading up 4 cents at $5.82 1/2 cent, and the July 25 new crop up 4 1/4, $6.17 1/2 cent. On the livestock side, October live cattle ended the day up $1.07 at $178.02. Your December cattle were up $1.37 at $178.60, and February cattle were up $1.27 at $179.60. Lean hogs closed lower yesterday, with October hogs down 85 cents at 78.90. December hogs were down 75 cents at 71.55, and February hogs were down 62.5 at $75.20. November feeder cattle closed up $1.45. November Class 3 milk was down 3 cents. This is the Ohio AgNet.